What's up and welcome back to another video, and today we're going to discuss something that I can't put off for any longer, and that is how farming changed Borderlands. Because I occasionally do see some hate towards rare items or perfect item farming in Borderlands 2, or they might think that the later iterations of the farming system are just better, which you're entitled to your opinion, but we're not here to talk about what you think. Now are we? Because for me, somebody who played Borderlands 1 in the early days and eventually getting BL2 shortly after launch, if you know anything at all about those early days of Borderlands 2, you'll know that legendaries not only had significantly lower drop rates, at a whopping 3 to 5% for most legendaries. Well, many years ago they upped the drop rates to 10% for a majority of the legendaries in the game, with some others now being anywhere from 3 to 8%, which for me isn't bad at all. It not only lets me get better at routing the bosses that I'm farming, but during some of those farms, which yes, can be long at times in BL2 or even the first game, you can come across insanely rare world drops, BL1 hybrids, and there's a possibility you can get a legendary out of every single dumpster that you open. Okay, no, it's not possible to get a legendary out of every single dumpster that you open unless you're cheating. And so what's my idea with saying that? Well, trash piles, lockers, bullymong piles, chests, everything you open has a chance to be something great. Just because it hasn't happened to you yet, doesn't mean that it won't. When it comes to Borderlands 2, I personally have seen a perfect Unkempt Herald world drop from the Warrior, legendaries from trash piles, a gub in a trash can, and many more insane world drops, which I will leave a link to a playlist with all of those drops below that I've been able to get on video. These crazy drops that you don't see every day are a huge reason why I personally continue to return to the game, because it adds so much to the replayability. Whether it be using non-uniques that you haven't used before or farming something that you usually don't get, you will have a completely different experience every time that you make a character. And a big reason for that comes down to the farming and RNG based loot system, which is far more complicated than I have time to fully go into today, but I can briefly explain Borderlands 2's system so that you can at least get an idea of why I love it so damn much. Obviously, everybody already knows the rarities. You have commons, which are whites, greens are uncommons, all the way up to legendaries, pearls, and even the bonus rarities that were added into this game, that being seraphs and effervescence, bringing the second game to 8 rarities. Fast forward to the current iterations of the loot system in Borderlands 3 and Wonderlands, and legendaries are dropping more than commons, and instead of 8 rarities, they claimed that they couldn't get any more than 5 in these games.
Stop the cap. Stop the cap right now. Stop the cap.
Well, hold on now. You're telling me that on the Unreal Engine 3, with a 32-bit video game built on some of the biggest mystery of spaghetti code, could handle 8 rarities, but 7 years later on these new consoles, 62-bit, Unreal Engine 4, you couldn't have at least added pearls? Because I don't think as many people would dislike the way legendaries are so common in the later games if they just had something a little bit harder to strive for. Because if the gameplay is catered to casuals, when your previous player base has been adjusted to a higher skill gap, a bigger grind, and so on, it's going to throw some of the longtime fans off, and some players may not mind. Maybe you're actually one of those people who do enjoy the more casual approach that Borderlands has taken. For me personally, I enjoy farming, just tossing on some music or some of my favorite YouTube channels in the background, and just stomping through some of these bosses like there's no tomorrow. And yeah, sometimes it takes a few hours to get what you're looking for, but don't you feel accomplished when you actually do get what you're looking for?
You're goddamn right.
Which I think it can be an acquired taste, and I see the argument for it being repetitive game design. But here's the kicker. I'd much rather spend my time working towards that orange glow that I want than to have something shiny dropped at my feet for killing a random enemy and turning around, killing a mini boss, and oh, here's another 2 legendaries. The reason this doesn't work for me is it's the exact kind of entertainment that I can't stand. It's quick, easy to digest, and it doesn't take a single bit of effort. Your TikToks, YouTube shorts, and any alteration of the sort.
Let him cook! I said let him cook!
which to me, this type of content is brain rot. And I compare that type of content to the most recent farming systems because it's to the point that players who've come in on these games don't enjoy farming. They don't get why we'd want to kill the same boss over and over again. Well, I'm going to tell you why. Where Borderlands 1 and 2's loot system has them beat, like me when I'm playing, I choose to put on what music I want to hear. I pick what video from which creator that I want to see. In the first 3 Borderlands releases, I choose what I want to do with my time, my character, and my gear. While yes, Borderlands 3 does give you similar amounts of power, Borderlands 3 will commonly give you something that you did not plan on getting, much like social media. Recommending you shit from pages that you never planned on looking at, they'll commonly give you some of the better legendaries in the game, kind of like the internet's algorithm pushing targeted ads or posts that they know you're more likely to interact with. It's all just a straight dopamine farm for the developers to get you to stay on the game. And yes, I know that perfect variant farms are deep in those games. Where it differs is that you're usually looking for one thing on those perfect variants in BL3 and Wonderlands, the anointment, which is just some text on the weapon card. So instead of looking for the right element that you want, the right grip or barrel, you're more focused on just reading the weapon card, which is nowhere near as fun as learning weapon parts and finding out which prefix is best on each gun or what stock is the best. Instead, with our new games, even weak variants are perfectly usable as long as they have the right anointment. And the reason this annoys me is, as I said, I want to be able to pick and choose where to take my character. I don't want amazing shit dropped at my feet every time that I hop on. Like I said, the crazy rare world drops and hybrids of the earlier games are what keeps me coming back. As no matter what, I know that each time that I play, I'm going to have a completely unique experience to me that no one else is going through in their game. Nothing is predictable or unpredictable. It's just the right amount of both. And that is how farming changed Borderlands. But what do you guys think? Do you agree that the early titles changed the way that we see looter shooters? Do you enjoy the grind of farming your loot over having it being dropped off at your feet for just simply existing? Or maybe you have a soft spot for both. I see some saying that they'd rather see a fine medium between the two eras of systems. Maybe you're that guy, but I'd personally like to see a return to form, and I went more in depth on how I think that they ruined the farming system in the last several games. I will leave that in the link in the description below. If you're interested in a more critical critique of the modern games, then I'm sure you will enjoy that one. But in summary, because of the randomness of it all, the fun bosses to kill for the gear, the one thing that needs to be changed in these old games is the way to farm quest rewards. No one likes dashboarding, or for PC players, Alt F4 and read-only farming. It's not fun, and the simple solution is to do what the pre-sequel did, by putting uniques in the loot pools and vending machines. It's a simple fix, and I think hybrids deserve a return as well at this point. It's been so many years since BL1 has released, and players still return to that game because of all of the crazy rare gear that you can farm. And it's stuff like this that will make the classics playable in 10, 20 years time. But that's going to do it for me today, guys. I've rambled on for long enough here, and I want to thank you all so much for watching it till the end. And if you did enjoy your stay, please consider smashing the like button and subscribe if you guys are new. But most importantly, remember that I love you all to death. I want you to take it easy out there, stay safe, and with that, I will see you all in the next one.